Here's the CB250RS stripped down. I'm measuring up for my new exhaust system there, as you can see. Just thought I'd point out a few of the things I've had to do to get the engine to fit. One of the differences between the 250 and the 500 is the 500 has a larger mounting hole size at the back of the engine. That's this bolt here. There's another one underneath, further underneath. On the 500 there a 12mm hole, and on the 250 there a 10mm hole. Now you can either drill out the frame here, which I didn't think was a good idea because I might need to put the 250 engine back in for some reason, and in fact I did at one point. So what I did is I sleeved the 500 engine down to a 10mm. I don't know if you can make it out down there. That's an aluminium sleeve that runs across the back of the engine there. So I just sleeved the two rear mounting points down to 10mm so I could still use the original 250 bolts. The front end of the engine here, they're all the same. The 500 and the 250 uses the same size bolts out there, so that's, didn't have to touch that. And the other main thing you have to do in the 500 is you have to machine off the top engine mounting. You can see there that's the existing mounting point on the frame. I don't know if it's worthwhile. I've read somewhere that people have made up extra brackets to bolt them to, but I can't really see how I can anyway, and to be honest I haven't really noticed any problems with machining it off. I left part of the lug on there really to maybe at some point in the future try and rig up some little bracket there, but I haven't bothered at the moment. If we come around the other side, you can see it more clear there. The sun's in the way. You can just make out where I've machined the top of that lug off. So when you look through there you can see clearance between the top of the rocker box and the frame. I did also, as you see, just file a little bit of the frame, just the web there, just filed it off there just to give it a little bit more clearance as well. Here's the big Makuni. As you can see, it's quite a tight fit in the between the two subframe tubes there. It was such a nice carburetor. I couldn't resist it. I did have to just kind of dress in, as they call it, the frame, the subframe, just a bit here and here. Basically, you just bash it in a little bit. You can see the air filter there, but it fits quite snugly in that gap there. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best carburetor for the engine. You know, there's probably others you can use which are probably better suited, but it was a bargain, so I couldn't resist it. What's the other thing? The coil, that can stay where it is. That's the original position, but the regulator rectifier, I can't remember. Oh, that was on the other side of the. Probably seen that. That's been moved down there. And the wires to the regulator rectifier, they reach from the original position up here on the other side of the coil. You can undo the wiring loom, or part of the loom, and pull it down here and mount the whole thing there. You don't have to extend the wires at all. They're all plenty long enough. Yeah, originally the regulator rectifier was mounted on these bolts here. From there, they're on the opposite side of the coil. Now this is where the clearance between the top of the engine and the tank is a little bit close. I've had to move the the automatic decompression cable mounting point, which is normally picked off this bolt. I've had to come in off one of the rear bolts with a sort of P-clip here, because if you allow it to follow its original position, which is roughly here, when the tank goes on, it's pretty close there, and it pushes on the cable. And what I found was there was like a vibration would come up through the petrol tank, so you could actually you could feel the resonance coming up through the tank, and it was the vibration of the engine. Here's one area that proved to be a little bit awkward. As you can see, my fuel tank isn't in exactly the best condition, so I didn't mind having to bash it in a bit, but this area here was very, very close to the top of the engine. In fact, the engine touched the underside of the tank. There was already a kind of dipped area in the tank already, and I had to sort of push that in a bit more. If you can make that out. And there were a couple of other areas up here which needed sort of like dressing in a bit as well. Those areas, they fouled sort of this part of the engine, like the top of the decompression cable and that bolt there. They actually touched the underside of the tank, so I had to get the hammer and just sort of bash it in a little bit. It's pretty basic stuff. It was literally get the old ball peen hammer and just kind of bang it in where I could see it was touching. And finally I got enough clearance. So it's a bit of a funny shape. There's like a dent there, another little one there, and then a bigger one here. And that's what I had to do to give the clearance. I'd heard of people actually cutting away part of the tank all the way down here, cutting like that piece out and then re-welding another piece further in, which I'm sure it can be done, but you'd have to have a pretty good weld to make it fuel resistant, you know. But I found it was easier just to knock the tank in. A little bit crude, I know, but it seemed to work. If you're using a different tank to make a different sort of style of bike, like a cafe racer, it probably wouldn't be a problem. But I wanted it to look as standard as possible, which meant using the original tank. So that was one thing that was it was a bit time consuming getting it right, because you'd ride off and then you could actually hear the vibration of the engine touching the underside of the tank. So you'd come in, take the tank off again, see where it's been touching, and then tap it in a bit more.